Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the show. Yet another episode of Crushing Fantasy Football. I am Bryce Lockridge, your host of the show. All right, guys, I have tight end rankings for you guys today. I've got a top 12 list for you, so I'm going to get right into it. And I'm going to start right here with the first player on my list, and that's Sam Laporta. Now, this is a guy who is in a top 3 overall projected offense. A lot of experts think that the Lions will lead the NFL in points scored this year, so you pretty much want all the offensive pieces on the Lions. I totally understand this because they're absolutely loaded, and Sam Laporta is one of the most centerpiece focal points of the offense, pretty much right there with Gibbs and St. Brown. Sam Laporta is, one of the most important players in this offense. He was the tight end one last season. He's young, so I give him the slight nod over Travis Kelce. This dude was absolutely lethal after the catch last season. He was an absolute target hog. He was having multiple touchdown games on multiple weeks. He had that week late in the season where he scored 3 touchdowns and helped a lot of us advance in best ball. This dude is an absolute money pick. He's my tight end one. Next player on my list is going to be Travis Kelce. Travis Kelce is going to be 35 years old this year. If he wasn't 35, I would probably still have him ahead of Sam Laporta because, he's one of the biggest cheat codes in all of fantasy. I love the outlook for the Chiefs offense. I still think that they're going to be one of the better offenses in the league. Obviously, the offense took a little bit of a downswing last year, but I think they're going to bounce back. The additions of Xavier Worthy and Marquise Brown for the outside is going to help open up targets for Travis Kelce over the middle of the field. Because of this, I think that Travis Kelce will have a bounce back and will score more fantasy points than he did last year despite being a year older. So I have Travis Kelce as my number 2. Next player on my list is going to be Dalton Kincaid. Now, this is going to be higher than a lot of experts had Dalton Kincaid, but we know the profile coming in. A lot of experts were comparing him to Travis Kelce coming into the league. We knew that at some point this dude's probably going to break out. We started to see it last year, kind of in the second half of the season, and now they get rid of Stephon Diggs. I love this for Dalton Kincaid. He's probably going to be the primary target in the offense now, and we know that if you're the primary target for Josh Allen in a Buffalo offense, you have freakish fantasy upside. I have him as my number 3 overall tight end. Next player on my list is going to be Trey McBride. This is a guy who was literally unstoppable this year. People just had absolutely no answer for him. Now you add Marvin Harrison Jr. to the offense. This offense is going to be lethal with Kyler Murray starting the year healthy. I love Trey McBride to absolutely explode in this offense. All the attention is going to be on Marvin Harrison Jr., and Trey McBride is going to eat. Next player on my list is going to be Mark Andrews. Now, this is a guy who, he's just had a tremendous fantasy football career. He's a little bit older now, but, he's not nearly as old as Travis Kelce, right? I still think he's going to pretty much dominate as long as he's on the field. I'm not sure about the weapons in the Ravens offense, so I don't know that this offense is going to be as good as people think it's going to be. I think that it's going to be an above average NFL offense, but, the players that I have ahead of Mark Andrews on this list, I think they're just in overall better offenses than the Baltimore Ravens. So, that's why I have him at my number 5, but it is Mark Andrews at the end of the day, so he's top 5 on my list. Next player on my list is going to be George Kittle. Now, this is a guy playing in what is projected to be the best offense in the NFL. He's a centerpiece of the offense. He's had a very good rapport with Brock Purdy. Ever since Brock Purdy has stepped in and been quarterback for the 49ers, starting with late 2 seasons ago, his rapport with George Kittle is very good. These two connect. These two produce together, and George Kittle is going to be a huge part of the offense once again. I love him to be one of the best tight ends in fantasy. Next player on my list is going to be Kyle Pitts. I think we're going to see kind of a bounce back for Kyle Pitts. Obviously, he impressed as a rookie, and he's been a little bit quiet since then, but the additions of Kirk Cousins and Michael Penix Jr. are going to help Kyle Pitts. Whoever ends up being the full-time quarterback for this team, it is a 1,000 times upgrade from Desmond Ridder. So considering the fact that we have a massive quarterback upgrade, I think that it's Drake London season. I think that it's Kyle Pitts season. I think that Kyle Pitts is finally going to break out and have that first super monster fantasy season that we've been waiting for him to have. Obviously, like I said, impressed as a rookie, but I'm talking about like a serious breakout. This dude, I think, could actually explode this year. Based on the track record of the tight ends I have above him, I couldn't have him too high on my list, but I really, really am excited about Kyle Pitts this year. Next player on my list is going to be David Njoku. Now, I am higher on the Browns offense than everybody else is. A lot of people are complaining about Deshaun Watson, thinking that, that was a bad contract and everything like that. I still have faith in Deshaun Watson. I still think he's an elite quarterback. It's just, last year he was injured, right? And he was starting to find his groove before he got hurt. If you were watching the Browns game, Deshaun Watson was actually starting to look really, really good until he got hurt. And so all people remember is that he struggled for the first few games of the season and then he got hurt, but they don't remember those 3 or 4 games where, before he got injured, where he was actually looking very good. So I wouldn't base anything off what we saw last year. I wouldn't even base anything on what we saw 2 seasons ago when he came in, mid to late season and just didn't even really know the playbook and kind of just got thrown on the field. An entire offseason to heal up, an entire offseason to work with the team. I think Deshaun Watson's going to bounce back. I think that this team is going to be a very, very good offense, and I like David Njoku to be one of the main benefactors of this. He's one of the best players on the team. I love David Njoku to have a big fantasy season. Next player on my list is going to be Pat Freiermuth. This is a guy who he's either going to have Russell Wilson or Justin Fields as a quarterback, so that's going to be an inevitable upgrade from who he had before, because the Steelers were just I mean, Pat Freiermuth hasn't really had a real quarterback to throw him the ball, right? So now Justin Fields, Russell Wilson, it's going to be an inevitable upgrade at the quarterback position. I like Pat Freiermuth. I think the offense will outperform expectations. Next player on my list is going to be Jake Ferguson. Now, this is a guy who's on what's probably supposed to be one of the top 3 offenses in the NFL, right up there with the 49ers and the Lions. Obviously, we know that this is an aerial assault, air raid offense. They're going to pass the ball like crazy. They're going to play at a very fast pace. I think that Jake Ferguson is going to be a benefactor of this, and I think that he's going to be one of the better tight ends in fantasy. Honestly, I don't like having him this low. I feel like I should have him a little higher, but the guys I have ahead of him just have a lot of upside, so I was able to get him into my top 10, but just barely. Next player on my list is going to be Evan Ingram. Now, this is a guy who was 3rd in the league in targets last year at the tight end position. I mean, this dude is an absolute fantasy machine. Now, obviously, we're going to have to see how this offense functions. It might be different this year with the different wide receiver core, but, really, I still think it's going to be Christian Kirk and then Evan Ingram in the offense. I really do. I think that that's going to be kind of the order that Trevor Lawrence, the order of priority for Trevor Lawrence. I think it's going to be Christian Kirk being the main target, Evan Ingram being the next target. And I think that Evan Ingram's still going to have a very good fantasy season. I don't think he's going to do quite as good as he did last year, but close. Next player and final player on my list is going to be Brock Bowers. Obviously, we like the prospect profile. We know that this dude's a very talented tight end. How is the Raiders offense going to function is kind of the only issue here. He might be in an offense that just overall from an efficiency standpoint just is not a good offense. Otherwise, I would have him higher because I think that he's going to be one of the main target hogs on this team. Right after Devontae Adams, I think he will potentially lead the team in targets. I mean, it might be Jacoby Myers. Those two might be a little bit close, but I think that this dude is going to get a ridiculous amount of targets from the tight end position. If he was playing in a better offense, I would have him ranked higher, but I'm a little bit weary about the offense. I am not sure, it's just a suspect offense. So, all right, guys, I appreciate you tuning into the video. Those are my top 12 tight ends. Catch you later.